Welcome back to Any Recapped. Today we will recap the series Vinland Saga. Hope you enjoy. The anime starts when Thor Snorreson, or Thors, wakes up in green fields on a bright sunny day as his wife Helga calls him from behind holding onto their child. But in reality, he is in the middle of a battle as the Norwegian Navy attacks their ships. Fearing the might of his opponents, Snorreson commands his officer Thorki to strengthen the defensive line along with Floki, while he drives forward and attacks at the heart of the enemy front lines alone. As the war rages on, he drowns fighting the incoming soldiers. After somehow managing to reach the shore, Snorreson looks back to find all his ships being destroyed. Young Thorfinn's mother asks him to feed the sheep and milk the cows. After helping out his mother with all the house chores, he joins other kids in the town and listens to the stories of Mr. Lave as he recalls his sea adventures and explains about the Vinland, a place with perfect weather, with plenty of food and water and no harsh winter, unlike Issy Iceland. He further explains his interaction with the native people of the Vinland and how their leader gave him feathered headgear, which can only be worn by a true warrior. As things start to get heated up between the children and Mr. Lave, Snorreson asks them all to leave for their homes because it was getting late and the blizzard was starting to pick up. After the Hjörungavr battle, Snorreson gave up military life and settled in Iceland away from Norway to build a new and prosperous future for his family. Alone at the dinner table enjoying a drink, Mr. Lave informs Snorreson how tough it is getting in the adjoining areas with persistent winter. Hence he suggests moving to a warmer country for a better livelihood. Meanwhile, in his warm bed, young Thorfinn dreams of killing the sea monsters and finding the illustrious Vinland. The next morning, clearing the accumulated snow from the roof, Elva and Snorreson stumble upon a chained man buried inside the snow. He is a slave who must have run away from his master. They quickly take them inside and make him better. When he starts to speak about his whereabouts, a man comes running in, informing Snorreson that Halfdan, the slave master, has arrived looking for his slave and cautions Snorreson that there can be trouble. Sensing that arguing with Halfdan will only cause bloodshed, Snorreson decides to buy the slave for 8 sheep. Halfdan agrees to the deal happily because the slave was close to death and was nothing but a burden. However, Elva doesn't like her father giving away 8 grown-up sheep for a weak slave and goes outside with Thorfinn. Vikings used to celebrate Saturday as a bathing day, and everyone was enjoying a good bath in this northern Viking settlement when, upon the English king's orders, the army attacked the place and slain them all. No soul survived. Back in Iceland, Thorfinn and his friends are enjoying a mock battlefield game. That Mr. Lave shows up, informing young Thorfinn about his upcoming travel. Thorfinn is beside himself and he follows Mr. Lave to his ship, asking to accompany him. However, Mr. Lave has none of it. Suddenly, he stops and starts to look to his left. Mr. Lave then instructs Thorfinn to run back to his father as soon as possible and inform him that a warship is coming, so be prepared. It is a large Viking ship and everyone is in awe looking at its size and the strength of the soldiers. They all start talking among themselves, fearing the worst. Snorreson comes forward asking the captain of his ship about the matter. The captain takes off his helmet and bows down to Snorreson. His subordinates follow suit. He is Floki, one of the commanders of Snorreson's army when he led the battle against the Norwegian. Inside, Floki informs Snorreson all about the English slaughter of Danish soldiers. Among those killed was a girl named Gunhild, Denmark's King Sweyn's younger sister. Now he wants to avenge the killing of his younger sister by the English. Excitedly, Floki calls upon Snorreson to come back and assumes his role as a commander in the Danish army. War drums are beating, which bodes well for the men in arms like us, exclaims Floki. However, Snorreson has none of it. He has shunned warfare and bloodshed after coming to Iceland. Hence, he promptly replies to Floki about his unavailability. Floki is persistent nevertheless. He also apprises Snorreson that their chieftain is willing to welcome him back after his absence of 15 years. Watching disdain over the Snorreson's face, Floki threatens him to follow the chieftain's orders or watch his village getting plundered. Hesitatingly, Snorreson has to agree. Little did he know that the people of the village would love it. Young men have always dreamt of going to war, but they were not part of the mainland, and thus were always away from the battlefield. Snorreson assembles the village's young men and trains them to be battle-ready for their upcoming assignment. In all this commotion, Thorfinn doesn't feel good. He doesn't like his dad hiding his true identity from everyone. As Snorreson was getting ready to make a comeback in the Faroe Islands, Floki hires Askeladd to kill Snorreson for 5 pound gold. Askeladd is amazed to be given the assignment to kill Snorreson, a famed Jomsviking warrior and commander. He asks Floki about the idea behind killing him, to which Floki replies that Snorreson went against the warrior's code by deserting the battlefield and has to pay the price. Not satisfied, Askeladd again asks why Floki is asking him to do the job when he could have done it himself. When Floki couldn't reply satisfactorily, Askeladd gets apprehensive and asks for double the amount for killing Snorrison, which is 10 pounds of gold. While contemplating a reply, Floki senses a spear coming in. It was thrown by one of the soldiers of Askeladd and signals bad intentions. Sensing unwarranted danger, Floki agrees to Askeladd's demands. On the day of their departure, the young men of the village start boasting of their ability to take down the mighty enemy and how excited they are to go to the battlefield. Little do they know that they might not be taking part in any fighting. With some help from Mr. Lave, Snorrison has made a plan of leaving the men behind in Norway and will sail ahead with a group of Norwegian sailors to Joburg, where he will join Floki and the rest of the Danish army. All could be back because of Mr. Lave's friendship with the old Norwegian king. He will also make sure that the villagers are then transported back to their homes in his trading ship. Before leaving, Snorrison searches for Thorfinn. He wants to meet him one last time and say goodbye. However, Thorfinn is nowhere to be seen as he is still angry. As the army sets sail, Snorrison realizes that people are made for the work and asks them to relax. Just then, Thorfinn comes out of a barrel and surprises everyone. Snorrison was searching all over the village, and he was on the ship. To help his friend sail safely through the treacherous North Sea, Mr. Lave sails along with Snorrison. He is going to Norway for trading purposes. In between Iceland and Norway lies Faroe Island. Mr. Lave plans to stay on the island for some time to replenish their stocks. However, as they get closer, he and Snorrison feel danger and decide to turn around. But it is too late. Askeladd has already seen them coming and started throwing piles of wood from above to damage Snorrison's ship. With this sudden attack, everyone is taken aback. Snorrison asks everyone to check for the damage and hang back, while he prepares himself for the upcoming danger. After blocking the passage, Askeladd attacks with his 2 ships from the front. His men, upon observing a handful of farmers with Snorrison, start to make fun of them. Knowing that it is only between him and the attackers, Snorrison takes out his sword and marches ahead. Before attacking, however, he hands Thorfinn a dagger and asks him to use it only when in grave danger. After saying goodbye to his son and instructing his troops to look after themselves, Snorrison attacks Askeladd's ships alone and takes down the majority of his men. However, he is doing it all without using his sword. With his bare hands, Snorrison defeated the whole ship. As he was fighting the attackers, Askeladd attacked from behind with his other ship. Upon watching this, Snorrison comes back to his ship, unshielded his sword for the first time, and threatens him of dire consequences. Despite wanting no violence, Snorrison has no choice. Meanwhile, everyone on his ship is in awe of his bravery and strength. It is for the first time they are watching him fight, and he is making them proud, especially Thorfinn. Acknowledging that if he keeps fighting alone, it will not help. Thus, Snorrison offers Askeladd a one-on-one duel with the winner taking all the honors. He incites Askeladd's warrior instincts to ask to act like a man. Stunned by the bravery of his foe, Askeladd agrees to a duel and promises to let Snorrison and his men go upon defeat. Hence starts a duel which is worthy of the whole fight. Askeladd is no slouch himself, but he soon finds out why Snorrison was revered so much. After a lengthy sword fight, Snorrison overcomes Askeladd and forces him to surrender and honor his promise. Watching his leader in danger, one of Askeladd's men jumps into Snorrison's ship, places the dagger on Thorfinn, and threatens to kill him if Askeladd is not spared. Snorrison is stunned. He couldn't believe Askeladd going back on his promise. Secondly, now the son is in danger. He tries to remind Askeladd about what he has promised and how it is against a warrior's pride to undo this promise. But nothing changes. With no other option left, Snorrison makes one last offer. He trades the safety of his men for his own life. He surrenders himself to Askeladd against a promise that he will not hurt anyone. To this, Askeladd agrees and signals his archers to fire. In an instant dozen, arrows pierce into Snorrison's body. He instructed Mr. Lave to take care of the men and to take his severed head to the chieftain as a sign that Snorrison didn't disobey his orders. While all this is going on, Thorfinn is on the ship watching his father die. Just recently, he had learned his true identity of being a warrior, but now he was leaving him. And then after he traded his life for the safety of his men. He is mad at his father for not killing Askeladd and forcing his men to surrender. After Snorrison's death, Mr. Lave hands over one ship to the pirates since there are not enough men to row 2 ships. Thorfinn, however, doesn't leave his father's ship and threatens to kill Askeladd. His men start making fun of the boy, but Askeladd orders them to stop. Askeladd and his band of pirates sail straight to a coastal town of England and plunder it for many days as decided between him and Floki. After killing all the men and raping the women, they wait for Floki's person to arrive with the payment. Till then, they all make merry in England, feasting on whatever they find in the sorry village. Meanwhile, Thorfinn, who is traveling with them throughout, comes out of the ship and sneaks into the village at night. Watching all the men sleeping, he goes inside the hut where Askeladd is sleeping. However, he doesn't kill him, thinking such cowardly may tarnish the glory of his father. In the morning, when Askeladd and his men are enjoying a meaty breakfast, Thorfinn shows up and challenges Askeladd to a duel. Not impressed, he turns around. However, his men insist he fights the boy. Askeladd then accepts the challenge and beats Thorfinn badly, and before throwing him away, warns him to not come back. Hurt and dejected, Thorfinn goes into the nearby forest. He is thirsty and hungry, but more importantly, he craves his father's revenge. But how can he do that? His enemy is so strong and he is just a kid. Back in Iceland, Mr. Leif informs Helga and Elva about Snorrison's death. He tells them how their man sacrificed his life for the safety of his villagers, despite getting the better of the pirates. When Helga asks about Thorfinn, Mr. Leif replies that he has been missing since Snorrison's death. However, he promises to bring his son back as long as it may take. Upon hearing about the death of her father and the disappearance of her brother, Elva starts behaving oddly. She pretends as if nothing has happened and tries to look cool and happy. However, Helga, like any mother, knows that deep inside Elva is broken and wants some love and a comforting shoulder. In England, determined to avenge his father, Thorfinn prepares himself in the forest. One night, as he is preparing to sleep, a wolf comes for him. Scared, Thorfinn has no other option but to defend. He holds out his father's sword, but quickly remembers what Askeladd told him in their last duel. You can't allow your weapon to take you around, kid. After that, he takes out his dagger and kills the attacking wolf. It is his first kill and encourages him to practice more to achieve his goal. After receiving their payment for killing Snorrison and plundering the English village from Floki, when Askeladd and his men are about to pack up and leave, Thorfinn shows up. He has been training day and night and mastered using his dagger. Disoriented, Askeladd asks to go away. However, his men again force him to accept the Thorfinn duel. Just like in their first fight, Askeladd badly beats up Thorfinn, but acknowledges the improvement in his skills. Thus, he promises Thorfinn a final duel if he makes a name for himself on the battlefield, just like his father. England, due to its greener lands and warm weather, was a priced land for Danes, especially the Vikings. To realize their dreams, they started pillaging the country in the 9th century. In the early 11th century, 1002 CE, the English king put a hold on these attacks and killed all the Danish people who had settled in the country. This mindless massacre provided the Dane government with the perfect excuse to launch a new offensive. As the standoff between the two countries worsened, Vikings, pillagers, and pirates made merry. With the backing of the Danish government, they renewed their attacks on English shores and were paid handsomely for that. Such attacks were hurting England badly, thus offering the Danes a strategic advantage. With no place to go, Thorfinn starts hanging with Askeladd and his men. Askeladd is just one of those many Viking pirates, paid by the Danish government to rampage coastal English villages. Thus, they are always on the move, killing and looting one village or the other. It also provides Thorfinn the perfect chance to upgrade his martial skills if he wants to fulfill his lifelong wish, killing Askeladd. Despite knowing his intentions, Askeladd starts liking the boy due to his guts and bravery. In one of such routine attacks, Thorfinn comes off his ship and starts attacking with his dagger. However, his hands always tremble to inflict the final blow as he doesn't like killing. Soon, the moment arrives when, left with no choice, Thorfinn has to kill an English soldier. It's a very heavy night, as it relieves him of all the burden of not being able to kill any person. He has been carrying this guilt of being weak, but not anymore. Thorfinn is a warrior now, a battlefield warrior who has killed an enemy. To celebrate the moment, he lets out a roar, and to it off saves Askeladd from another incoming soldier. He then points out to him that he will not let anyone kill Askeladd. Time passes by, and soon Thorfinn turns into a fine swordsman despite being very young. Due to his age, Askeladd usually uses Thorfinn as a scout to pave the way for their attack. In one such mission, Thorfinn infiltrates coastal villages and manages to kill the guards. However, he gets hurt and has to take refuge in a nearby village to escape the incoming English soldiers. He runs into two ladies, a mother and a daughter, who tends to his wounds, giving him a new dress and food to eat. But there is one problem. They don't speak the same language and hence can't understand each other. While the old lady is very nice and tender-hearted, her daughter gets suspicious and cautions her mother about what if he is a Dane soldier. Soon a soldier comes to their house and informs them that a young Danish boy who had killed two soldiers is on loose. The daughter asks her mother to inform the army man, but she refuses. For her, Thorfinn is just her child. But that's going to change soon. In the night, Thorfinn sets the coastal hut in a blaze, sending a signal for the waiting ships to attack. Upon seeing fire, all village men come out to extinguish it, but see Thorfinn fighting and killing soldiers. The lady about to save him also watches Thorfinn killing the soldiers and is dumbfounded. He tries to tell her to run away, but couldn't miss she doesn't understand what he is saying. In the meantime, Askeladd and his men anchor at the jetty and start killing and looting the village. What will happen to the lady and her daughter? Will Thorfinn continue this path of plundering, or will he transform into a real warrior like his father? For all the answers, wait for our next videos and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment with your opinion on Vinland Saga.